We've been doing IoT wrong. You know why? Because we've focused on the technology, on the shiny object, on communications, on protocols, on devices. We've not been focusing enough on the customer needs, on the scenario, on the outcome. Jinesh was at the inception of the AWS IoT button, and he has a very interesting story about Jeff Bezos' reaction to the AWS IoT button. Maybe like me, you were just like, oh, yet another gadget. Jeff Bezos saw something else. He saw an opportunity to address a very specific customer need. Jinesh learned a lot from this experience and is here to tell us about the inception of Industrility, a company that helps customers achieve their own goals, focusing not on technology, but on the outcomes. That's today on the IoT show. And if you like this episode, like every time, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, leave us a comment. See you soon. Hi everyone, this is the IoT Show. I'm Olivier, your host. Today we have Jinesh, who will tell us why we've been doing IoT wrong all this time. So Jinesh, how are you?
Yes, thank you so much, Oliver. Really excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, thanks for being here. Little known fact, you are behind one of the most popular IoT buttons that were out there when you were working for AWS. We'll get to that story. It's part of you. And so let's get into who is Jinesh? Who are you? What are you doing in life?
Sure. Yes. So I'm Jinesh. I'm the CEO of Industrility. Been here at Seattle for almost 20 years. Today is, by the way, happy Diwali to all your audience as well. It's a festival of lights. I 20 years in Seattle, 10 of which were at Amazon Web Services. I was humbled and honored to be part of the massive growth between 2006 and 2016 at Amazon. And then, the last 4 years at Amazon was really more focused on building and launching AWS IoT Core as a function, where, it's one of the fastest growing services at that time. And it was a lot of fun, from hackers, tinkerers to industrial companies, and a lot of applications in between. And since after that, I joined Hitachi to learn more deeper into, as a senior director of product management, diagonally opposite Japanese conglomerate from Amazon, fast moving, and learned and connected a lot of industrial equipment and did a lot of predictive maintenance, remaining useful life estimations, and so forth. So I learned a lot. I'll share some stories from there as well. And since 6 years, I've been heads down working on Industrility, which is a profitable a startup, I would say, and kind of working towards very proud of having largest hydrogen compressor companies, boiler companies, asphalt construction companies using Industrility. So super excited about this.
Well, I'm excited to have you. Yes, because we have all the not so known stories about well-known projects like the AWS IoT button that you're going to share with us, as well as getting to what led you to rethink IoT or have a different perspective on IoT. Like typically the AWS IoT button is the epiphany of the geek thing, right? It's almost like you would think like almost useless thing. You have a button that allows you to light up something in the web or whatnot, right? But not so useless actually. And what I would like for you is to tell me, a little bit more about this, the various anecdotes that during this work you did on that project made you change your perspective or I would say craft your unique perspective on IoT. And so, the stage is yours. Tell me more about this project and what it thinks of.
Yeah, absolutely. In everything what we do, we have to have fun. So this was one of my I would say fun projects. And this is a story about how we sold 50,000 buttons in 30 minutes. So back somewhere in 2020, 2010 or so, we went to a typical sort of a Bezos meeting where we pitched them about the button. At that time, the button was a square button with just an LED on it, and everybody in that room, in the classic PR FAQ of Amazon, you go with a 6-pager, everybody reads in that meeting, and then after 20 minutes, everybody starts talking about, and almost everybody in the meeting was like, "This how bad this button idea is." Like nobody's going to carry this button on their backpacks, and especially when there are smartphones and iPads around everywhere. Like how bad it is that it has to be connecting to internet and Wi-Fi, and like nobody's going to. There is no screen on it, etc. And then classic Bezos, he and Bezos and Andy Jassy, they're power humans, like superhumans, I would say, right? They listen to everybody's feedback and calmly think, and when everybody is done talking, he would say he said, "I want these 1 million buttons in the next June, and I want to put labels of brands on top so that I can put it wherever I want. So Tide, diapers or coffee makers, etc., can actually reorder the same things again." And it became so like a light bulb moment for everyone that, hey, this business model and starting with that customer and designing backwards was a very important philosophy here. And then, of course, we took this button, we used this at an AWS IoT developer device. We launched it at
Mhm.
2015. And that was one of the times when this button became even more popular because it was launched on the April Fool's Day, believe it or not. Everybody thought it was
I
too good
remember
to be
that.
true.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and it has a very simple function. You long press, single click, double click, and you can execute a Lambda function from it. And it exploded. Like it was very popular. And my director tells me at that time that, hey, look, I have spent 2 decades chasing customers, enterprise customers, and so forth. And in this particular case, I'm getting 20 leads a day because Pizza Hut wanted to buy 50,000 buttons to reorder the same pizza again, and American Heart Association wanted to track medicine usage for their elderly patients, and Redfin wanted to call a customer service. So
Wow.
it kind of really exciting opportunity. We sold 50,000 buttons. It was $6 a pop, no, for $20, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And that
Uh,
is what I feel. It shaped my kind of experiences
yeah.
around.
But that's interesting the way you're describing what happened in that room because we're facing that very often as technologists. We're excited about the technology. We're just like, hey, that's a fantastic thing. It's going to connect instantly in a few seconds. And as a matter of fact, the other technologists in that room were thinking the same way, as in like what's the point, and we have a phone, we have another technology that does it already, why? And then someone like Bezos came in without really eventually, I know he understands technology, but putting that aside, thought about, oh, wait a second, here is a use case, here is a scenario. And that's something that to us technologists very often, too often, unfortunately, is different, is not
Yeah,
common,
yeah,
right? And I would say the shiny object syndrome is our problem. Which is see the next shiny object and we go play with it, and oh, it's
yeah,
fantastic what it can do. And then no one tells us, hey, well, what is the scenario? What is the end game? What is the outcome you're looking for?
yeah,
And
yeah.
you were mentioning Hitachi as well. So yeah, so I'm sure you have other stories. I'm curious to have another one. So the button, very much like maker oriented to start with, consumer oriented from the scenario perspective, but I'm sure that with Hitachi, you also had a perspective that was more enterprise oriented, right?
Yes, yes. So with the button, what I learned, and we are people who we shape our lives are shaped by our experiences. So one of the key learnings that I had from the button was um, focus on the obviously the customer and design backwards, but focus on the business outcome and design backwards. And I'll take it to the next level as well. If you focus on customer, then you are already sold to your customer because now you're building a value proposition for their customers. So this has sort of engraved in myself, is in like, how can we leverage that in everything what we do. So at Hitachi, where my role was to connect all the industrial equipment, from Hitachi excavators, Hitachi compressors, Hitachi boilers, and so forth. One of my power no use case where we focused on was Hitachi Industrial Equipment, which is a large industrial printer, and it prints 250 bottles a minute on an assembly line for those expiration dates that you see on a milk carton, or or the or any serial number information on a packet or so forth, or egg cartons and so forth. And if that machine goes down, that assembly line stops, right? And it's a very critical machine. And as you can think, with every printer, the real value is the ink that you provide in that. So, and you will be surprised that the temperature, viscosity of the ink will actually change the color of the ink, and so forth, right? So my job was to connect that particular industrial equipment, get data out of it. And what we found out was this another epiphany that came up was, how do these industrial manufacturers make money, right? And they make money not by selling the equipment, but selling the parts and service after, after they have sold, like the ink, consumables, parts, and so forth, because they are very high margin business, right? They are, that's where the profitability of the company. So you focus on that business outcome, no, not just monitoring a temperature alert on an IoT device, but actually, like, how can the customer make money or save money? The fundamentals, as they say, go back to the principles, fundamentals, rather than trying to invent, like, oh wow, this is a fantastic new technology.
But that's interesting because you mentioned the idea of measuring temperature and sending a temperature information, right? This is the hello world demo of any IoT project.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, we very rapidly go into this, you can connect, and then we talk protocol, we talk whatever, but at the end of the day, we don't talk about, do we really need to do that? Do we need to send a temperature information every 3 seconds? Do we? And when you think about the end game, like the results, the outcome, then you will, as you were saying, design backwards and say, hey, what I need is not a temperature information every 3 seconds. What I need is an alert when the temperature goes above a certain threshold, or is a notification that I'm seeing an anomaly happening down there, and or any sort of other information. But I'm with you on that one. Actually, I think we've been focusing a lot too much on the technology, and that's why some people are saying IoT is dead, or that's also why lots of projects have been tanking at the POC level, is because the proof of concept was not proving anything.
Spot on. Yeah. Yeah. I do want to take it to that next level. Even if you have the most, awesome AI powered predictive alert that uses all the neural networks in the possible way, etc., that alert is not going to give you the uptime that you need. So predictive maintenance was supposed to be the killer app. Everybody thinks it is the killer app for IoT. We think differently. We don't think predictive maintenance is, because there is no failure data and you cannot predict failure. And that's why I think that alert is just noise for most of these people who are out there in the field. For us, maybe as geeks, we feel, wow, we generated a really cool alert. But the people who are there on the field, on the ground, it's noise for them. So for that purpose, I feel if you give them a recommendation of what they need to do after the alert has come, that is much more valuable. So they need to change a part, they need to change a service, they need to do some actionable aspect about it, and what that is, rather than just giving them a, hey, temperature was up 30 degrees more than what you thought, right?
Yeah.
That is where we focus on too.
Yeah, and rule of thumb, don't let the developer building the application tell the operator what they need. The operator should tell the developer what they need, right? So that was your set of aha moments, right? Where you crafted that mindset of, we need to focus there. There is a value prop that a customer needs, and then we'll build a solution that leverages IoT as a technology to achieve that, right? So, and that's a right way of doing it. That's a right way of using IoT in a project. So you had the idea of creating a company, Industrility, right? So tell me a bit about this inception journey of yours and what Industrility is about, and then you'll show me.
Sure, sure. So, and you couldn't have said it better. Like, we have to focus on the business outcome and the customer design backwards is one lesson learned. We have to focus on where the customer wants to go, and focus on that customer by how we can help save money, make money for them, right? So let's understand the why first related to industry. I gave myself a challenge before starting Industrility was that I will talk to 1,000 people in 1,000 days. And I will be doing active listening on what they need. And my mom is a monk, so she renunciated the world, and she always tells me to be a spectator in every conversation, not the actor, right? So on an active listening, I was listening to these types of industrial equipment manufacturers, and saying, hey, where do you no is IoT one of the most important thing, or is what is your business outcome, what is the desired outcome that you need? And everyone said, IoT is important. However, let's take an example of a real manufacturer, right? Like an industrial manufacturer, like a boiler or a compressor or a chiller, etc. These big machines, they power our everyday life. Believe it or not, you go to a mall, you go to a school, you go to a hospital. Without these machines, they will not exist. So these are very important, critical machines. If you take that manufacturer, around let's say sells 1,000 units a year, and they have been around for 20 years, right? Each machine has a lifetime of 20 or 30 years, right? And we asked them a question: how many are connected to IoT and sending data? The recurring, undisputed answer that will come back to you is less than 1%. The 99% of the other still need parts and service, to function. There is no machine on the planet that does not need a part or a service, right? That will be there. So what we do is we focus on that business outcome, that if we help you make money by selling more parts and service throughout the lifetime of this equipment, we will build the case for IoT. So we go after the unconnected first. We build their whole installed base view. We identify where they have sold this particular machine, and we do that through amazing new technologies like generative AI and others. So we distill information of that installed base, and then we build a case for IoT, saying that once you have all this information of parts and service, how can you sell more parts and service? And if you sell one part which has 90% margin, it will pay off all your IoT investments.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense. The problem I have is convincing people of things that are so logical, right?
It is.
But no, you have a good point, because at the end of the day, when you talk to a customer, if you talk their language and you listen to them first, talk their language, and realize that you should not try and shove technology because for the sake of it, you'd be better off, and they will as well. Show me how it materializes, because the concept of going from a problem, which is I want to sell more parts as an OEM, as a equipment manufacturer, to I'm actually sending the parts. Everything in between, Industrility offers, but show me how that looks like.
Yeah, and so Industrility's core mission is to make the unorganized world of industrial OEMs more organized. How we do that is by offering a SaaS platform to these manufacturers and make it customer facing for them. So whoever they have sold these 60,000 machines I was talking about earlier, now they will get white labeled like my OEM, my chiller sort of a website, right? So we offer a solution, what we call the AI-powered digital after-sales solutions, which will help machine manufacturers be more connected, stay connected throughout the lifetime of this equipment, with their customers. And as you can see, the data about once the machine is sold, there is so much data around that particular machine. We call it the operational digital twin, where all this warranty, design, connectivity, IoT aspects, parts, maintenance, all the data has to be, is currently in different applications, siloed in different ways, buried in different area as well. So we take all that data and we build that sort of what we call that install base view, and we offer a my chiller, or just like Tesla has my Tesla, or Caterpillar has my Caterpillar. We offer this solution to that they can build a case for IoT and essentially get a customer facing site. So how it works is very simple. I take an example of a particular machine manufacturer. This is a real case study as well. PDC Machines makes hydrogen compressors. As you know, hydrogen is a very big, renewable fuel. And these machines are installed in Amazon and Walmart warehouses where it powers the forklifts, for example. So anyone can scan a QR code on the back of these machines. These are pretty sturdy, awesome machines that have diaphragm compressors that generate thing, and they can come up with my PDC machines as their site. They can see that entire BOM or parts view associated with that particular machine. They can see the full, obviously the 3D version of it. They can explode every single part. They can they can click a particular part in there, so I can see that whole BOM and say, hey, I want to see a particular oil filter, right, and buy that part right there. And this essentially helps PDC machines to essentially sell the part right away without having to go over all these things. And so they build that whole 400, 500 or so machines that they have sold in a view, so that I can build a case for IoT. And now they have 20 machines which are connected, sending IoT data. And they can see all the information at a microsecond level as well for those machines, and they can see that element as well.
Yeah. So it starts. So basically, it starts with a fancy catalog of all the parts in that equipment.
Yes.
And now you add that layer on top, which is easier to explain to the OEM, which is now you will want to analyze the wear and tear, the evolution of each of these components, of these parts, to inform the customer of when they will need to change that part or another one. And also, I would assume for that OEM to optimize their products, right? So the promise of IoT delivering that product optimization as well as new business models is actually revealed now. It's not just words, it's an actual scenario, but it started in your mind and it resonated with the customer from the catalog of parts.
Yes.
Because that's the angle, right?
Yeah, and you got it. So this is where now you're making a sale for them, and that's what makes this whole thing interesting. You're making them more money or saving more money by not having to identify, go through these diagrams and other things, and making their life more easier and changing their lives towards IoT.
Yeah. And I would assume that a customer using this solution will also obtain or like his trust, or their trust in the OEM, in the vendor, will grow, because in some places, well, you're not an expert in how a compressor works, right? Because you're operating it in your warehouse. But,
yeah, exactly.
And if you're just like, hey, that thing is not working anymore, and a ill-intended sales guys could say, hey, you need to change the entire thing. But now they have the ability to get that tool that tells them, hey, this is exactly the one part you need to change. You don't need to change the whole thing. So it's certainly saving money to the customer, but at the same time, it's a service I'm sure they will be willing to pay for. And have this notion of I have access to this very powerful tool that allows my operators to not be experts in how a hydrogen compressor works, but are able to optimize the maintenance of these equipment thanks
Correct.
to that solution. I like
Yeah.
that. It makes
Wow.
sense.
And I couldn't have said it better how you said it too. Like, so, as you know, this whole operational digital twin of the data, there are so many different data points like IoT data, parts data, maintenance service history data, so forth, that is associated with that machine. And now what we have been doing is we are, adding the RAG patterns in there to essentially feed that data to, to an LLM engine, and they can do natural language conversation with the actual machine, right? So I put the manuals information, I put IoT data, parts data, and they can say, what does this alarm code mean? And how do I fix it? And which part should I buy? All
Mhm.
of that can be natural language, and that's what has got us really excited, an exciting opportunity for the especially for the machine manufacturers.
Yeah, yeah, and once again, what you're describing as a new tool for the final customer is something that is enabled through technology use, including IoT, right? Because in the scenario of the SLM running on that device, you will need to deploy the model, manage the model, update the model, and that is done through an IoT infrastructure and set
Yes,
of solutions. And you didn't sell the IoT solution. You
bingo.
basically are proposing a solution to the problem, and it's going to be enabled by the technology itself.
Exactly. Always the business has to drive technology rather than technology driving the business, telling them what to do. So that is the fundamental learning I had across all the different customers and running the startup, I would say.
That's clear. To do IoT right is basically don't think IoT, think end game, think outcome, think
Yes,
customer approach, and then the technology will fit in or not.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Perfect. Excellent.
Awesome. Well, Jinesh, that's good learning. I think everyone appreciates. I think everyone has this notion of like we need to start with the end, but having you sharing your thought process, how you came to that conclusion, and now running a successful company that implements that thought process, I think is a testament to the fact that it's the right way to do IoT.
Cool. Yes, I think for people in the audience as well, we are all geeks. We all have had a boatload of stuff in our garage, from Seed Studio kits to particles boards to Dragon boards and Raspberry Pis. We have been tinkering around. At some point, I do feel that we should build sustainable solutions that make money and save money for customers, and once we are able to do that, then IoT becomes sort of an obvious thing to do. It's not that I'm starting. So we also say we don't start with IoT. We are not IoT first. We are IoT second, in a way, right? We start with the business outcome. We tell them what problems you want to solve, especially as on the after sales side. And if you are able to make your money, save more money, we automatically build the business case for the connected world for you, right? So that is where I feel also something is important for the audience here to take away, I guess.
I agree with you, and that's good. That's a good closing point, actually. So,
Mm.
if people want to learn more about what you're doing, they can follow you on LinkedIn. They can check out Industrility as well. The little demo you showed is very exciting. I noticed something which is very important. You didn't introduce the word digital twin until it was on the screen, and that was a like very small part of the entire thing. So it's a technology. It's something that you're leveraging and using, but you presented things from the perspective of, hey, I'm a user, I can go into the parts diagram in a way that makes sense for me as an operator. You didn't really use that or abuse the term
Awards,
digital
yeah.
twin, which is great. Like, kudos to you, Jinesh, and well, once again, thanks a lot for coming to the show and sharing your experience today.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for the invitation, and also I was super excited to be here. I will leave with maybe two thoughts
Yep.
for the audience here. One is, I'm pretty sure that everyone in the audience also had some sort of a story around, and I can come up with 20, at least 20 stories like these, who says that, hey, I got an excited VP who started the digital transformation in my company, and then IoT project failed after 2 years. And the reason is that they don't see how to monetize IoT. Rather
Mhm.
than they are focusing on the technology bits, they say, well, no, I have customers here who would say, I have 40,000 machines connected, but I have no way to put this data to work, and so forth. So my recommendation to is that focus on monetization of IoT, and design backwards from that. And then second, I have seen over and over again, this world is plagued by data silos in a way, especially the industrial world. And I don't want IoT. I mean, I would say, don't make IoT yet another data silo,
Mhm.
right? And this is fundamental, because if you make IoT another data silo, it's going to die on its own, and its own death, because it's not talking. It's the Internet of Things. It's integration of
Yeah.
things, rather than Internet of Things that don't talk to each other, right?
Agreed.
So it's very important that you take IoT as a data stream and combine this data stream with other data streams to provide business value to the customer. And that's what I love about running a startup, where you can go fast, you can go solve problems for the customers. And of course, we are hiring, so please, definitely a shameless plug there too. So let us know how we can help, and thank you very, very much for the show. It was awesome.
Thanks, Jeanette. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.